Thank you so much. I've shared your podcast with all my baby mum friends, and I've got some people messaging me saying that things have really improved for the better, and so I'm just evangelizing to everyone. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you to you and Beck, because our life is just so much better with all your advice. So thank you so much.
Beck, you and I got some really beautiful fan mail during the week, and we thought that we might share it with the nap-trapped community, if you'd lend an ear as we just indulge ourselves. But this came from a lady who did our camp snooze. So that's our 2 weeks of virtual group sleep training together. She was in our second intake. And I remember when she first inquired, she was umming and ahhing about whether or not to do it before a big trip to Vietnam or to just grin and bear it and save it for when we were after. And I'd sort of said, it's totally up to you, but there's no time like the present to just get better sleep and then let the good times roll. So anyway, she messaged us to say, hi, Beck and Sally. I just want to say thank you so much for the camp snooze. I'm so glad that I listened to Sally's advice and decided to camp snooze before the travel. I just wanted to report back and how amazing it was for us now we are traveling. Avery is a true champion, and we just created a great little sleeper. She did an amazing 8-hour day flight from Sydney to Malaysia, and then we're supposed to have a 1-hour layover connecting flight to Vietnam. It was delayed for 2 hours. She goes on to say, fast forward, we arrived to the hotel at 9 p.m. local time, set up the porta cot, we gave her an extra feed, and then she proceeded to sleep for 7 hours straight and woke around 4 a.m. local time, which was her usual wake-up time at home. She writes about how they've been able to do contact naps and naps on the go, but always tried to prioritize being back at the hotel for the nap too. And the irony being that this baby, who was 8 months when we were working together and a chronic contact napper, would not sleep independently, never heard of self-settling, no interest in it, actually now prefers to nap in the cot, she says. Can you believe it? As a past serial contact nappers. Some days naps are a bit wobbly as we're out exploring, but she still sleeps solidly 11 to 11.5 hours overnight. You ladies are the legends. Now we are enjoying our time here well rested and happy. Thank you so much, and sorry for a long post. P.S. It took us as adults 3 to 4 days to be on local time, and she's done it in one.
Oh, it's so amazing, isn't it? It's like, we love hearing the fan mail.
We love hearing the fan mail.
We love hearing the fan mail, but we also love seeing that it's all the hard work that our clients put in. It future-proofs them for times like these, like where you can go on holiday and you've got great sleep in the bank, and that they can roll it out at the new destination. Like, I love that for her. It is always a little bit of a gamble in terms of, like, how much time do you have up your sleeve to implement new strategies before you start something new? So either going away or starting kinder or preschool or daycare, or, like, how much time is enough time? But, when you've got great sleep under your belt and you've got strategies to know how to carry it onwards when you are in a new destination, I think it's a game changer. And to be able to live and breathe the joy that it brings in that moment, like, wow, 11 to 11.5 hours overnight when you're on holiday, it's the absolute dream, isn't it? And to have great naps. You're exploring, you're enjoying your time together. There's a time for, Avery to be in the cot, and I'm sure there might be a pool neck, like not too far away where, if you had the baby monitor, you could just duck in for a quick dip and have a cocktail and back to the room. Or maybe you've got room service. Who knows? It's just really, it's life-changing to have great sleep. So
it is, and I think it's really nice to hear that it's not just a one-hit wonder. It's not just that it works really well for the 2 weeks of a package and then it all spirals and falls apart. I think being able to read that this family have been able to take the skills that they've got, the troubleshooting, like she knows when to do an extra feed. She knew what was and wasn't hunger in a different time zone. she's got on the schedule, and to see it actually play out in a very real life scenario. It's not just a Band-Aid fix. And this beautiful baby was waking multiple times overnight, lots of milk feeds when we first started, early rising, and didn't want a bar of the cot during the day. And she now oversees, self-settles, sleeps through the night and takes 3 naps.
She was one of those babies where we got to one step and then she just progressed to the next step really easily. And then the next step after that, it was one of those sort of seamless runs, to get she was, and Mum put in all the hard work. Like it's, like we say, it was a seamless run, but Mum's doing the work.
Oh, no,
behind
there was
the
work.
scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was definitely work.
But that's the benefit of having one of those virtual camp snoozers, is that you can ask lots of questions along the way, and you can gain the confidence of knowing that this is happening. I've got the support behind me. I can see the other members of the camp are experiencing similar sort of things, like that whole solidarity of sleep isn't linear, like you always say. It's sometimes 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but to be able to gather all the information and the tools to move forward and implement it out of Camp Snooze is what it's really all about. And amazing.
And I remember this mother in particular, you and I hadn't started them on naps, but I think she must have listened to all the other mothers being like, oh, yeah, we've popped baby down. And I remember one day she'd put this beautiful baby just down for nap, because usually on a 3-nap schedule, we start on nap 2, so we're working on nap 2. And then unbeknownst to us, she'd be like, oh, no, I put her down this morning for nap 1 and she fell asleep. And we're like, this is amazing. Do you remember that?
Yeah, like, totally.
What have we been waiting for? Like, let's get the show on the road. This is amazing. Like, we took confidence from it too, because we're usually like slowly. And she was like, no, I already did that.
That's the confidence from the group. Yeah, because so
it's infectious even for us.
For sure. So good. Thank you so much for reading that.
Yes,
so lovely.
Yes, it's just so great and lovely, I think, for other families to hear it not come from us well, that this is all possible. So thank you so much and enjoy that trip. I'm looking forward to I'm actually going to Vietnam in the middle of the year. We're going as a family. So hopefully I'll get some recommendations of where to eat and drink.
Amazing.
From that family. All right, let's dive into our main topic today. Today, we are talking all things eat, play, sleep. Not to be confused with eat, pray, love. Although I wouldn't mind all this travel talk. And I do love Julia Roberts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she's wonderful. She's wonderful. I do. I'd love her hair. I'd love to have her hair. Effortless, unstyled, cool.
I have loved her forever.
Curl. Yeah.
Notting Hill, Runaway Bride. I used to watch that on repeat. Pretty Woman. Speaking of fan mail, this has now just become a Julia Roberts fangirling moment. So not to be confused with that, although we could clearly talk about it. We're talking about eat, play, sleep. What is eat, play, sleep? Like how do you define it?
So eat, play, sleep, I think, is just a rhythm to your day where new parents can sort of get into a sequencing of making sure that their baby is really well fed, having some activity in between the feed and going down, mainly to create an opportunity for babies to potentially just to not feed to sleep.
Yeah,
so
I think that's
creating a gap. Yeah, the driving force behind it. So there is some recognition, I guess, from other people that there's a significance or a significant sort of prop in terms of the feeding to sleep, like how we always sort of say, for an older baby, there's a
it's sort of
feeding.
It's helping to avoid falling into the trap of, and the strong sleep association that can be a legitimately unsustainable sleep association of feeding to sleep. So if you sort of follow the mantra of feed, play, sleep, then you've eliminated the feed to sleep aspect that can be tricky for so many families.
Correct. And it can work. I think it's a great strategy to give new parents. Absolutely. I feel like it's easy to do for a lot of families. obviously when they're really little, like you don't have a lot of time up your sleeve. A lot of feeds can take 30 to 40 minutes before they're completed, and there might be a little bit of dicking around in between, like you're changing nappies and so forth. There's a bit of a vom. There's lots of things going on, and for tiny babies, their wake windows are only 45 to 60 minutes. So you're working against the clock in terms of trying to put an activity or a
the
play.
nappy change is the activity.
That's the activity, yeah, for
Razzle
sure.
dazzle.
Yeah. And then, of course, the feed is so close to going down that it can really, they really, there's a nappy change in between the feed and going off to sleep. So, so at least you've put something in the mix, which is great. And then, when they're little, for a lot of families as well, the babies are taking sort of quite decent stretches, so the naps then they can sometimes be an hour and a half, 2 hours long, in which case you're sort of like really cheering, oh, I've got a great sleeper.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, babies tend to wake up, and that could be around that sort of 2-week mark where 2 to 4 weeks your naps start to sort of have a little bit of a decline in the length of time that they're sleeping for, and then this is where, and not sort of in the first 6 to 8 weeks, I feel like it can be a really great strategy to use, but at some point, whether that's at 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 4 months later down the track, there is going to be a point where the feed, play, sleep doesn't work anymore.
I find it has a shelf life if you end up with a catnapping baby. I actually have no issue with the concept of feed, play, sleep as a concept. In fact, it makes sense to me as a sort of an ideology for families to take into how do I create some structure to my day. Like what step comes first? And because you and I are always wanting to future proof to avoid having to undo feeding to sleep when it becomes unsustainable, we can sort of have avoided that by following this ideology of feed, play, sleep. And I also think it's a very clear way for a tired brain to just know what's coming next, even for an older baby. Full transparency, I followed it. I followed it with my first. But I never had sleep issues. I never had catnapping, and I never had feeding issues. So by the time she woke, it was kind of just a great spaced feeding. But I didn't necessarily I wasn't watching the clock, so to speak, of like, I'm not going to feed before now. The problem where the problem arises for me, and a lot of people then think, I don't know now what to do with this, like I'm trying so hard to follow this prescription, is when your baby sleeps for 32 minutes on the dot, and then you're meant to feed again, but you just fed an hour and a half ago, and this baby's 8 months old, and you're stuck in you're feeding them like a newborn, because they're going to do a short nap, a wake window, a short nap, away, and you're just feeding constantly. And that's the snacky cycle that a lot of families find themselves in when they're following it by the book of literally feed, play, sleep, like immediately feed upon waking.
Oh, it's really, really common. Yes, it's a great strategy. And this is when I'm reading logs from, new clients, and I've got a 48-hour log coming in, it's probably the most common thing that I see is that, baby's awake and they feed and so forth. And it comes from a place of wanting to do the best for avoiding the feeding to sleep. Because if you're wanting to sort of be actively working on sleep, a lot of families will employ this method because that they want to avoid it. However, the subsequent issue that comes from avoiding the whole feeding to sleep is that, like you said, we start to have these snacky type feeds. So instead of feeding like every 3 to 4 hour leaf, depending on the age, you can be feeding every 1.5 to 2 hours, and those feeds aren't complete feeds. They might start feeling like complete feeds because you're so used to a feed being done within 4 to 6 minutes. And so you're sort of thinking that's a full feed for my little one, and everything's coming along hunky-dory, where, we're feeding every 2 to 3 hours. A feed is 4 to 6 minutes. We're all done. But you're topping up, not tanking up. And so this is where it can be really hard to start working on naps or extend naps, because two things happen. your baby is topping up so frequently that their internal clock is wired in to expecting a feed every 2 hours.
Mm.
And so if their wake window is quite short and you're putting them down to have a nap, so let's just say at 5 months, you've got a wake window of, say, 2 hours. And so you've fed when they woke up. So let's just say 7 o'clock, they're awake, they're fed, and then they've gone back down at 9 o'clock, but they typically feed every 2 to 3 hours. Then it's really hard for them to link a sleep cycle and extend the nap because they've only just had a really tiny feed at 7 because they're feeding all through the night every 2 hours. They've only just topped up and now they're going through a transitional phase of sleep, so at that 20 to 30 minute mark, and now it's 9:30 and they want to tick over into a deep sleep phase, but their internal clock is saying, hey, you normally have a feed about now. And that's more enticing. And then they're starting to get those sort of hunger pangs all over again, which means then that they're stimulated enough to wake and actually have a full-blown arousal. And now they're waking because they are genuinely searching out a little bit of extra food.
It can be really hard to work on lengthening out naps when you're stuck in a feed, play, sleep cycle.
Yes.
We need to, I think it's the place to start though, particularly if you're just wanting to make change from moving away to feed to sleep. Absolutely start moving towards the concept of feed, play, sleep. We're going to take it one step further though and actually move to, surprise, surprise, anchored feed times. So technically it is still feed, play, sleep, but there's a gap in between. In between the I wake, you'll immediately feed me after. And the other thing to remember is that babies are sort of primed to feed upon waking, whether it's a 20-minute nap or a 2-hour, 20-minute nap. And so it actually takes a little bit of practice and to nudge the body clock to know, oh no, this is when we're going to start the feed. This is when I get hungry. This is when I nap. And it only takes a couple of days, but we do sort of feed, play, sleep on steroids, if that makes sense. Like we move to space feeding when we are looking to fix a problem. If you were like me, where baby just takes great naps, the timings kind of align, you've got no issues, no big deal. You don't need to change a thing. It's if you are stuck in, I'm really trying to do feed, play, sleep, but it doesn't make sense because we have a catnapper and then a snacker and then a short wake windower. And so the cycle continues. Yeah. The other thing I think can sometimes become confusing is even when families listen to us and say, okay, we're going to move to space feeding. I have a catnapper though, and by the time your scheduled feed would be when they next go back down. That's where we it's never about one thing in isolation. We would actually be looking at, well, how do we structure your naps and how do you resettle and how do you assist your baby to go to sleep at these times and stay asleep so that we can break out of the catnapping cycle so you can get your great feeds in.
Yeah.
And it all kind of needs to flow on together. It probably sounds complicated listening. It's actually, once you see a plan, it does all make sense. But feed, play, sleep is the concept. We take it one step further and have your anchored feed times.
This is true. There's sometimes like when we're doing anchored feeds that if the naps have been a little bit wonky, which, that's just babies and life and,
that's
and whatnot.
normal. Yeah.
Where there's times, particularly in the second half of the afternoon, where it might be that the nap lands directly after a feed. So or like they're due for a feed at the same time they're due to go down. And in these moments, it's not about the feeding to sleep. It's more about the calories. It's more about getting the great calories in because it's better to have a baby who's got a super full tummy and they've had a really great milk feed and don't sweat the self-settle because you've got, you've got bedtime, you've got overnight, you've got the other 2 or 3 naps through the day that you can work on. We can definitely create moments where it takes the pressure off, like taking the pressure off having to do a self-settle. Because ultimately, the way that we work is these anchored feeds, the more calories we've got in the system through the day, those naps are organically going to be easier to take and lengthen out. So we're not hyper-focused on the self-settling ordinarily in those first few days.
Yeah,
of sleep
yeah,
work.
yeah, yeah. When we're initially making the change. Yeah. We actually got a question that came through on Spotify, which I think is a great catalyst for how, Beck, we could unpack this topic a little bit more. So Rach says, I'm trying to space out feeds for my 5-month-old on 4 naps. A sleep consultant has told me I need to follow feed, play, sleep religiously to stop the 4 to 5 night wakings. I can't seem to make the math with naps and 4-hourly feeds. For example, if he sleeps for 60 minutes, I can't feed yet because it's only been 2 hours, etc. How does this work with a feed, play, sleep routine? Any tips would be amazing. Let's do a little deep dive on how we would structure this and why feed, play, sleep isn't going to work in this scenario.
Yeah.
So
Let's
5
do
months
that.
old on 4 naps. I think the issue for me that jumps out immediately is that you've been told to feed, play, sleep religiously because you are stuck there. You have no wriggle room to do anything but be at the whim of the length of a baby's nap if you have to follow it religiously.
Yeah, that's right. And the fourth
So
nap
already the math
as
don't
well.
math. The fourth nap as well. Yeah.
So the fourth nap doesn't really give you a lot of time. Like if you're trying to jam 4 naps in plus a 4-hour wake window, that actually tends to sort of move into quite a late bedtime, I would imagine.
What do you
Well,
mean
I'm
a
just
4-hour
trying to-
wake window?
Oh,
You mean 4-hourly
Sorry,
feeds?
4-hourly feeds. Yeah, sorry. Sorry for anyone that's just tuned in. I had to put my fan on quite high in the office because I was
Becky's
literally melting
melting.
away. So my brain melted a little bit as well. So I'm just getting it back together now as I cool down. So if you can hear the fan on in the background, I do apologize, but it's the only way I can talk.
No, we don't
clearly.
need you in a puddle.
Yeah, that's right. Look, okay, so yes, that whole religious, I think I understand where the sleep consultant is coming from because she is trying to avoid the feed to sleep association creeping in, but she's banking on the naps being really good as well.
You sort of have to, don't you, in order
to.
Yeah, they have to be good in order to get great feeds in.
But they're obviously not that great because there's a 4th nap happening at 5 months. So that's the second thing. So the second biggest catalyst for why this can't work is because there's the 4th nap in there. And in order to have 3 naps, you're going to have to work on the naps. And for us, the way that we work on improving naps at this age is literally anchoring the feeds in so that we know we've got 2 great boobs going in or a really great bottle of 180 to 240 mils. 2 great boobs.
Two
Get them
great
in, jam
boobs
them in.
going in.
Yeah, but it's, we just want those nice full feeds going in 4-hourly so that we know that baby is tanking up. No more of the topping up. We have to go in with a tanking up kind of strategy, and we're shifting the internal body clock. So we're creating moments in time for the anchored feeds to line up with the internal clock. So the internal clock then understands when to release the appetite hormone. And then if we've got beautiful, nice 4-hourly anchored feeds in through the day, the internal clock repeats that process overnight.
Overnight.
And so that's where you can have, just off the back of structuring your feeds in through the day, organically, your nights can improve without doing a lot of sleep training or any sleep training. Like you can often see results happen like that straight off the cuff. I
also suspect this sleep consultant has got the right idea in that if we can get more feeds in during the day, then we give the calories back to the day and either baby will organically sleep a little bit better overnight or we can resettle some of these wakings versus feeding all of them. But what this listener is experiencing is the common stitch up with this. It's the right idea, but the math doesn't math. She's exactly right. And what we often find as well is that it feels messy. It feels super messy day one of like, I got to get these 4-hourly feeds in. It's really hard to get a longer nap in. It can also feel intimidating. Like just listening to this, it could feel like that's all well and good. My baby will only do 30 to 60 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
how on earth am I meant to restructure this? I'm going to tell you two things. One is you will be surprised. When you get even the first of the 4 hourly feeds in or the second one in, the next naps will subsequently already improve because your baby has not snacked. And that's just going to have to be, you're just going to have to take our word for it.
Yeah.
It's
Totally.
magic, okay? Trust the process. The other thing is, this is also a short-term messiness. It takes a couple of days for everything to start to feel like it's making more sense. When you get your structured nap timings, you've got your anchored feed timings, baby starts taking it, supply and demand catches up. It takes a couple of days. Again, trust the process. The other thing is that we work a little bit differently, and we're never going to step on another sleep consultant's toes. And no, I'm not saying that this sleep consultant has or hasn't said this, but we would tell you to throw every other rule out the window of how you try and get these longer naps in. It can feel counterintuitive that when we're wanting to work on getting better, more independent sleep and move to anchored feed times, that Beck and I would say, you're going to do a 12:45 till 2:15 nap in the car.
Yeah.
As your sleep consultants.
Or in your arms.
In the pram. Yeah.
Watch a
you
movie.
want to watch Netflix. Or pop baby down, have a wee 32 minutes sleep cycle. You're going to hold them for the rest of it and rock on the rocking chair and listen to this podcast or something more entertaining. We won't blame you. But that's how you do it. That's how you do it initially. This is about sustainable, staggered sleep. And by relinquishing the idea of having to do anything religiously, I think is what will give you the freedom to be like, I'm going to rescue this nap because I just need to get it in. Look, we've made it to the next 4 hourly feed. Gosh, this one's already bigger. We've had a happier wake window. This baby just went down for the next one. And that's the process.
It is the process, and it also means that you're going into bedtime well rested. And then if you can get bigger chunks of the night, say instead of waking every 2 hours for a feed overnight and so forth, but now you've got 2 feeds overnight and you might have had 1 or 2 quick resettles, your baby's already had more restorative sleep overnight than they probably have had the night before. If they're going into the day more well rested, again, they've got a better chance of doing extra better for their naps. It's the work through the day helps the night helps the day. It's all, everything goes in hand, and quite often it's hard to know where to start. And we tend to sort of loosen the idea that we have to do all the work all together. We just focus on our feeds in through the day, the naps, however way we can get them to improve the nights first, because we all know, well, not all of us, I guess that's sort of like a sweeping statement, isn't it? But the nights will fall into place so much more easily than the days. And so we want to give you the best chance of feeling that moment that'll give you the energy and the enthusiasm to then keep going, because you have to see some wins somewhere, right? But one of the first things that you'll notice is when you move from the feed play sleep, when it stops working, to the anchored feeds, within the second or third feed, you're going to have that moment of, yes, now I feel like this is working. This, I can see why this can make a big difference.
And the beauty in that is that you will already go into the night. Let's say this mother might be feeding every 4 to 5 times for each of them. Your baby will either sleep a little bit longer because you've had these much better satiating feeds throughout the day, but you know that you will then automatically mirror your 4 hourly feeds from the day into the night. So anything that happens between those 4 hourly feeds is just a resettle. The confusion is automatically taken out. You do 4 hourly feeds during the day, 4 hourly feeds overnight, resettle everything in between. And again, initially, we don't care how you do it. You could be bouncing on that Fitball until baby goes back to sleep. We've had parents that have just stayed on the floor mattress together just while we work on shifting the overnight feeds. We will then get you to 7 a.m. That baby's going to be so happy to take the breast or bottle then, as Beck would say, two huge boobs at 7 a.m.
Two great boobs.
Or two great boobs, sorry. Two great boobs.
Huge
or
will
one
do.
great
Huge
bottle.
will do.
Interchangeable. And it's the domino effect in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And you've just dropped a couple of night feeds. We've given calories back to the day and it starts to make sense, and you then trust the process. Initially, you just have to do what we say and hope for the best, and then you'll watch it fall into place and you'll know it's working. So I think this is where there's actually a fair bit to unpack, but the thing that's keeping your hands tied is this idea of religiously working to feed, play, sleep. Because what if baby does a 30-minute nap? You got to feed then versus 60 minutes. Like, you could end up with feeds all over the place.
Well, it very commonly starts to fall apart at the 4-month regression, because if you're doing feed, play, sleep, and your baby has done, we have lots of little ones that will have 2 feeds in the night, maybe 1 feed until the 4-month regression, and now they're waking up every 2 hours, and it feels. Well, maybe they go through a growth spurt. Maybe they're doing this. Maybe it is a regression. I'm not sure how to manage that. And so if you're doing feed, play, sleep, then they're waking up so frequently that you are feeding frequently, and then it all starts to unravel, and then your days fall into that same category. So so there is absolute merit. There is absolute merit in it, and we understand why. And it's obviously a tool to use to encourage families from the get-go to appreciate that there can be a sleep association
with feeding to
sleep, and here's how to try and avoid it. And that's great. I think having
as
an awareness,
a concept, it's great, and it's a great place to start. We need to take it one step further in our experience for this exact scenario that so many families are facing. It also works really well if you just have a great sleeper. Again, you and I work with not so flash sleepers, and so it becomes a sticking point as well, and it definitely has a shelf life when baby is catnapping.
Absolutely.
It gets really tricky. So
that was a great question.
It was a great question, and it's a great way for us to unpack the feed, play, sleep concept as a whole. Happy with that?
Happy. Yeah.
Great.
Hopefully I came back to life.
You did. Hopefully it makes sense with what we were talking about at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll be able to piece it together. I think we've covered it. We've covered it. That was a perfect question for it. All right, let me get Sleepy D's up. Okay. All right. For the lovers of our Sleepy D section, welcome to Sleep Detectives. We've just put our monocles on and our Sherlock Holmes caps. Actually, my daughter... Okay, you go.
No, I was just going to say, so many people DM me to say they love the Sleep Detectives.
The Sleep Detectives. We love it.
Segment.
We love it.
We really jam it.
My daughter actually got for her birthday from her teacher at After School Care was a monocular.
Oh, wow. Cool.
For bird watching, but it just made me think about this. We do so much bird watching.
Wow, how amazing. That's what you're doing on the weekend.
Exactly. But for now, let me do something I actually know about, which is baby sleep. Okay. This question came through on Spotify off our Early Rising Protocol episode. It said, thank you for this. My baby wakes between 5:30 till 6 a.m. with a 7:30 p.m. bedtime and typically goes back to sleep if I put the passy back in. Someone in a different forum said, my baby is just low sleep needs and a naturally early riser. Is it possible to train him to settle in the crib without the passy? Am I doomed with low sleep needs? I have so much to say on this, Beck.
This is a great question. Wow, what a statement. That is a really interesting statement to use about what's happening
Someone else's baby. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. So first of all, full disclaimer, we don't know how old this baby is.
We don't know.
We don't know.
What we do know is that we know that the dummy is working.
Yeah, my first thought is there's no way I would read that and think that a baby that is then going back to sleep is it doesn't make sense. The baby's going back to sleep. If they were truly a low sleep needs baby, they are not going back to sleep because they have met their quota of sleep and they are up.
Yeah. And like a low sleep needs baby for me would be, I'm just going to throw numbers out, like 10 hours through the night and then still not even maxing out on day sleep, but absolutely loving life sick.
Yeah, happy. So happy about it.
Like they're not unhappy. There's no meltdowns. They're all the things, like that. But to me, what time is this child going to bed? 6:30?
7:30.
7:30, and then waking at
5:30 to 6. Typically goes back to sleep if I put the passy back in. For me, that's called the snooze button. They put the passy back in a really fragile time of the morning and baby goes back to sleep. That is not a low sleep needs baby. And I say that to encourage this mother. Just be like,
totally.
You
oh my
can
God,
tune
and
that
I
out.
wouldn't think about taking the passy away. Nothing. Like all of this looks absolutely rosy to me. Like 100% nothing to see here. Like you've got a great sleeper.
The things, if we were to take it one step further in true sleep detective style, where we start to use our imagination, is I would then think, okay, are there any other potential causes for this ongoing restlessness that requires a passy? If it is a 5-month-old baby that can't replace their own pacifier or dummy, and you're just popping it back in, and we'll see you at 6:45. Fantastic. No notes, nothing to see here. And you can leave that forum now. It is not serving you. Otherwise, is there just a little schedule tweak, a little nudge in the right direction that maybe we could iron that out? Maybe. Also, is this baby now old enough where we could do a little bit of sleep training in that hour to say, instead of me popping it back in, could you replace it on your own or put yourself back to sleep without me needing to do it? Let's say at 12 months old, they can find that dummy or that passy and put it back in themselves. But nothing in this screams to me naturally early riser or just low sleep needs, let alone both.
None of the above.
No, which is great news.
Well, I think it's, and I'm so glad that she asked the question because it's so, you can get really heavily influenced by other people's opinions, and some of these labels are quite triggering, for some families.
I think you and I get triggered by low sleep needs.
I do. I really do. I get triggered by split nights and
those
split nights and low sleep needs. But it's so easy to become overwhelmed with, oh my gosh, I've just been told we've got a big problem here, and then to hear from like the experts, actually, there's nothing to see here. I hope helps her to feel some relief, and that she's fine. It's okay. And even if this baby or toddler, whoever, how old, 18 months too, whatever, if a dummy, if you're going in and putting the dummy back in and the child goes back off to sleep, even at 18 months, whatever, totally fine. If you're okay with it, I'm okay with it. If you wanted to stop, if the child was an 18-month, 2-year-old and you wanted to stop going in and doing the dummy run because you know that they can actually find and replug it with themselves, then just stop going in and doing it. But you know, like that's literal advice. Like that's what we would. That is what we would say.
But I think this is also a point of difference of you and I, Beck, is that we would never just say, okay, well, early rising, that's just early rising because this is a baby. Just surrender to that. We will put in the hard work to get you more sleep in the early hours of the morning.
Yeah, there's only a handful of consultants, I think, that actually are dedicated to resolving an early rise because it is tricky. And
tricky.
There's a lot of there's a lot of hand holding that goes along with it because it's not necessarily something that ties up in a nice little bow within a couple of days. Like there is repetition, consistency, persistence. Persistence is the one.
AKA it's a slog.
It's a long slog for some families, but it's absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
And And some sleep consultants are just, it's too much for them to want to manage and deal with. And I understand that would, but we're ready to tackle that and encourage you to do it, and to encourage you to understand that the majority of babies that we work with and toddlers really can get their 11 to 12 hours overnight. And once you've completed your early rising protocol, it's something that you typically don't have to revisit that often. And if you did have to revisit it 6, 7, 8 months down the track, it would be a really easy resolution. And you've got the tools to be able to do it. It's something that will future-proof you for a really long time. And we do the early rise protocol because we are literally looking forward to when your child is 3 or 4 and they're going to daycare. And if they're getting up at 5:30 and then daylight savings hits, that's 4:30. Like I literally think about these numbers and I'm like, there are families that are starting their day early and their child is going off to childcare, and we've got meltdown central. We've got behavioural
it makes for a very long day for everyone,
issues,
doesn't it?
because it's so hard. Like these children are really little, and if we can help a family get through a little later in the morning and have a child going off to childcare and enjoying their day, and you can still enjoy a family meal at the other end.
That's
of
not
that
at 3:30
day.
in the afternoon.
Then that's what it's all about, right? So we do love fixing the early rise for families. It's I reckon it's one of our callings as sleep consultants.
It is. But there is almost nothing to fix in this scenario, unless there's more to it that we're not reading it yet. We've gone off on one of our tangents. But if you are curious, like a schedule review is all it would take, just to dot your I's and cross your T's. So reach out to one of us.
That's something that we can sort of, there's so much information within our podcast that if you did have a schedule review and say you booked in with like a 60-minute consult or something with either of us, and we went through a fine-tooth comb your scheduling and so forth, you could potentially have all the tools within these podcast episodes to DIY it. I mean, we obviously give you all the tips and tools, but you've got us in these podcasts cheering you on, like giving you the support, backing you. This is why I love doing the podcast with you, Sally, because this is our jam, and I love
it is our jam,
helping people. And
notice I pause just to be like, tell me why you love doing the podcast with me.
But like the review that we got earlier, the fan mail, people can piece things together just simply from the tips that we're giving. I don't know. I just love it for that reason. So nice.
Yeah.
And I love listening to your voice too, Sally. You're just like
You're welcome.
pearls of wisdom.
The ASMR of Sally. Okay, and on to the next question. Okay, where to start with sleep when it's all gone to shit? To be fair, was never good, but now insert cyclone tornado emoji, 9 months old. First of all, you're just not alone.
Yeah,
you're just so not alone. Beck and I will say all the time, 6 to 9 month old babies are a dime a dozen for us. This is the most common age group that we work with. It's really tricky. There's a lot going on. And it's really normal also that sleep has never been great. And then you hit a stage where you're like, we've hit rock bottom. Where to from here?
If it's never been great, quite often you're at the peak of assistance, so you've probably graduated from patting and shushing and rocking and holding and swaddling and bouncing and yoga balls and car drives and feeding to sleep, and you've graduated from all of those, and you literally have nothing left up your sleeve. In terms of, I don't know, like now this is escalated beyond, and now we're up for hours, like nothing is actually working. And it really does feel like, for better words of the listener, like an absolute shit show. And where do you start? Well, we'll bring it all back to, what we were talking about earlier in the episode, which is your anchored feeds. Like that is the first place to start. Even though we're thinking about sleep, it boils down to you've got to be confident. Confidence starts from knowing that you can resettle without a seed of doubt creeping in that this child could potentially be hungry, and then unraveling all the work that you're trying to put in. So feed times are really important.
When I write a sleep summary after a consult, or even our camp snooze plans back when we write those together, this is the sequence that over the years that I have followed, and maybe it's a good way, just a little itemized checklist for families when you're wanting to know where to start. The first section I always write is the environment. Is baby warm enough? Too cold? Too hot? Too bright? Too dark? Have we got white noise on? Have we got dummies? Have we got comforters? Have we set up an environment that is conducive to great sleep, that is working with your baby's biology? Tick, 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 all of which is within our control. Nothing has to be pretty. You whack a blanket up against the curtain, doesn't matter. You can do that today. Once I've ticked all the boxes for environment, I then move on to scheduling, getting onto a great age-appropriate schedule. And don't forget, Beck and I work with babies who love to not follow the plan and still take short naps. But we're talking about when is uptime in the morning. If your baby sleeps longer, even if they've had a shocking night, you are going to get your baby up at the same time every single morning, open those blinds and start the day with a great milk feed or breakfast if they're much older. You're going to have the timing of your first nap, and that's not going to budge. That rarely for us will budge. And then that starts your day off in the right direction. You're going to use your wake windows. It also includes feeds, as you were just talking about. Where are your milk feeds? What are the volumes? The 2 great boobs or a full bottle? What does that look like? Also solids. Where are solids? And what would that look like? How many tablespoons? How many cups? All age dependent. We will tell you where to put that. Which then brings us to the bedtime routine. This is the sequence of steps you are going to take to get you to bedtime. And then we're going to talk about how to teach your baby to self-settle at bedtime and how to then follow that through with resettles overnight for anything that's not a feed. And so that's really how I break it down. I go environment, schedule, feeds and overnight feeds, and then a settling technique.
Yes, correct. Thank you for
Sounds so easy,
saying
doesn't
it? Yeah, totally. Well, we're exactly the same. The sleep environment is super important, and something that interestingly I'm seeing a lot of recently is a reluctance to use sleeping bags for warmth. I actually don't think I've ever seen as many clients come to me in the long time that I've been doing this. This is probably this last year. I have seen so many parents not swaddling or using sleeping bags or blankets, anything, like nothing. They'll just pop baby back down.
Do you think it's that fear of overheating?
Yeah, because I went to an in-home a few weeks ago, and she said yes, because she said that in the hospital they have said to her, cold babies cry, hot babies die.
Isn't that the most
it is
horrible,
disgusting.
Horrible saying. I think I see it all the time in my comments when I make anything about how to dress a baby overnight.
And I had only heard that
Terrifying.
because you had told me that somebody had said that in your comment thing. And I was like, God, that is so gross to say that.
You can't unhear it, can you?
You can't. And like, even just repeating it, I feel like I've got like shivers going down my spine. And for hospitals to be saying this to new families, like now I understand why I'm seeing so much of it, because there is like parents are petrified. Literally petrified of their child not making it through the night. And in feeling that way, they are doing everything within their power to make sure that doesn't happen. And so they, and so it kind of makes sense. Like in a really, in a big stretch, I don't want to risk them being hot because it's summer. I don't want to risk them being hot in a sleeping bag. What if the 0.5 tog bag is too hot for my room? Because first-time parents, you really have no idea. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
you're literally winging it, and you can be reading all the information and still feel like you know absolutely nothing, and listening to us and still feel like you've got no real information coming through that makes you feel good about a scenario. So I can understand now why this is happening, and I feel a bit sad about it, to be honest, because it's a
and I
really
think
shocking thing to
it's
say.
playing on the extreme where we do know, research shows that there is a link between overheating and SIDS. We're not talking about overheating. We're not talking about that. We're talking about using a really appropriate thermally regulated, TOG-rated sleeping bag in the matching temperature room.
Yeah, these bags have been thermally tested for these particular temperature ranges. And so that's where you can get your confidence that you are dressing your baby appropriately.
Yeah.
So, so that's where it sort of stems from. I'd love for that to be reviewed in terms of information being given to families.
Or we just ditch that saying and educate around how to use a sleeping bag appropriately.
Yes, but going back to where do you start? Absolutely, environment, sleep environment, sleep environment, scheduling, confidence, techniques, all the things we can help you with.
And also reaching out for help. If you've hit 9 months and you just think, I can't, I've been doing all of this for so long, I have tried so hard to piece it all together. Hello. Welcome to Nap Trapped. We will take care of you, whether it's together, whether it's separately, whether it's in content. This is what we do. This is exactly what we do. You just relinquish the thinking to us. And it's such a great age.
It's a great
sleep
age.
is so possible.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No more messing around. Okay, well, that was Sleep Detectives meets our, soapbox? On the sleeping bags. You're welcome. And Star Wife. Beck, what have you got for us for our Fast Four this week?
Fast Four.
I'm just going to leave this up to you.
Okay, cool.
Each week.
Okay, so
Surprise
Fast Four. So is that staying in, or am I doing an intro? The Fast Four this week, we're going to discuss in...
the suspense. Slow four.
No, because I was going to say, because like last week we said fast forward, and I was like, fast four. And then it ended up being a really long-winded four.
It's on brand.
Okay, so fast four this week, which will probably turn into quite a slow four, is
3 hours later, just for the introduction, Vic.
I want to rate your favorite biscuits. Because I just love biscuits. Biscuits are my vice. I don't know, some people love chips. Some people like ice cream. I am a big biscuit person. I love them. I could get around biscuits each and every day. That would be my jam. What do you like in a biscuit? What's your favorite?
You go first, because I got to think about this for a second.
Okay, well, there's 2 different types of biscuits for me. There's the classics, and then there are the treat biscuits.
Oh, okay.
And so I actually love a classic biscuit. You're probably going to laugh. My favorite biscuit of all time is the milk arrowroot. I just love them so many ways with the milk arrowroot.
Beiges.
I know.
In an oval shape.
Isn't it? But then there's
not to yuck your yum. I'm so surprised
I love it.
by
but
that.
I feel like I can have a milk arrowroot at any time.
Do you dip it?
Yeah. You know how when you put it in a cup of tea and there's
soggy,
the magic, but it's the magic how long's too long? Because you leave it in a fraction too long and it'll just fall into your tea.
It's a risky biscuit.
It's very risky. Maybe it's I like the challenge. Maybe I like the challenge.
Yeah.
So I'll have a couple of arrowroots with my green tea, but then I'll just nibble on them through the day as well.
I feel like green tea, not even
green tea. No, not into an English breakfast. It's a normal tea. And then I just also wanted to, because when I was thinking about it just then, I was like, the milk arrowroot is in the same part as and I never even know how to pronounce these ones. There's the shredded wheatmeal, also love that too. But the Marie
Isn't that a cereal?
biscuit.
Oh, they're the same thing.
The
Isn't that
Marie?
interchangeable? I would have said Mari, I think.
It's a Marie. And then the other one that you can't quite remember the name of or remember how to pronounce is it the niece or is it the nice biscuit?
I have absolutely
The
no
one with the
idea what
sugar?
you're talking about.
You don't know the niece biscuit.
Oh, it's literally coming up. Nice biscuit.
But I think it's pronounced niece.
Oh, is that got the sugar crystals on top?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. I had no idea that. Wow.
For
I'm
me, that would be a
surprised,
treat.
actually. That's
you?
your treat biscuit, Beck?
The niece biscuit
Just
would be a
another
treat.
beige biscuit that with sugar crystals on top.
But wow,
I
the
don't know why
sugar.
I find this so shocking.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Fast forward. Tell me then, why do you feel so shocked by that and what would be your favorite?
I just think of all the biscuits out there
Mm.
to go with 2 glorified pieces of bread in a green tea is surprising. But to each their own. I want to talk to you about the iced Vovo.
Oh.
It's not that that's my favorite biscuit. There is something so quintessentially Australian the nostalgia I have for an iced Vovo. I even have iced Vovo earrings, and one of my needle minders for needlepoint is an iced Vovo that someone made on Etsy. And I think I am enamored with the iced Vovo.
It's really a unique biscuit to Australia. Yeah. I used to work in the UK. I used to work in Antipodean shop. So that's like it's sold New Zealand treats. New Zealand treats, South African treats, and Australian treats.
A lot of Vegemite.
And a lot of Vegemite, a lot of Tim Tams.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of Villiers pies over here. You know, the Villiers pies. And then iced Vovos.
Yeah.
A lot of iced Vovos.
I even took a photo I was walking past a gift shop and they had measuring spoons, that come in a set as different iced Vovos. Iced Vovos with the measuring spoons. Yeah. And I took a photo. I love an iced Vovo. I just think, and also then like my grandma would always have served iced Vovos. Always.
I've never enjoyed an iced Vovo. I don't know what it is.
But see, that's the thing. I don't necessarily want to eat it. But when I think about a biscuit.
That would be your favorite biscuit.
Yeah, because I'm not a big biscuit. I'm not the biggest biscuit person. I would prefer cake or like a brownie or something, like a slice.
So yummy.
But then I would have 2. I do quite like a wagon wheel, and I really like a homemade wagon wheel. Oh. I think the combination of the jam and the marshmallow fluff is delightful. Also nostalgic that I used to catch the bus home on Wednesdays begrudgingly. How dare my mother send me on not in her chauffeur service. And my nana used to pick us up and she would open a packet of wagon wheels on a Wednesday afternoon. So that has a soft spot for me. And I quite like a Monte Carlo.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to pull it apart, twist it, and then like scrape off the icing with my teeth in the middle. There's a system.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, Monte Carlos and Kingstons don't last long in our house.
A Kingston is also delightful. Yeah. That's the sort of like if I'm at an office or like the nursing tea room. Oh, yeah. They're usually one of those
the classic creams from Arnott's.
Yeah.
So then onto the chocolate biscuits. Tim Tams double coat, love those.
Yeah, you like
those. But if I was
yep.
going to pick a packet of biscuits, it would be the TV snacks, the malt ones. How good are they?
TV snacks. TV snacks are so
sticks.
good, and I just introduced my children to them, and they are still just as good as ever. TV snacks, I will agree with you on that one.
The blue box or the yellow box? The sticks, not the stars.
No, I don't want the stars. I want a stick.
Yeah, the sticks. So
Yeah, I
good.
want a
Yeah, they
stick.
don't last long
Yeah.
either. I usually
Yeah.
buy 2 boxes. I have one on display and one hidden. So the kids only think there's one box.
I
now they're
saw
gonna
this
learn.
hilarious video on TikTok about a mother made a video for her family group chat that for 30 years on the back of a shelf in the fridge was a tin of yeast, like live yeast, and that it's always sat there for 30 years, and that she confessed, she brings it out in the video, opens it, and it's got a secret can of Coke that she keeps in the back of the fridge, and like no sodas allowed, no nothing. And she unveils
Wow.
that for 30 years she has had her secret can of Coke.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. That
Her
would be
fridge
like
cigarette.
the secret the secret box of All brand that like no one touches. No kids touch the All brand. So I could probably hide something in there.
And
now-
knowing
and
you,
you're
that
thinking that
might
the
be
All
the
brand-
secret.
yeah.
You might be like, oh my God, nobody know
That's
about my love of All
Yeah.
Brand. It's fine, Beck. You can have the All
seems
Brand
so
and the
beige
Marie
and
biscuits.
boring now. The Maris. No, I'm so risky with my TV snacks now.
Well, now
Well-
I want you to time how long it takes for it to go.
Oh, the
through.
perfect be it just before it
But then you
sogs out.
get floaties. No, sorry. That's where we're going to have to agree to disagree on the old biscuit front. On
We
that
unpacked a
bombshell,
few-
we will love you.
I just
and
want to
leave
say, for any New Zealand listeners, I hate the ginger nut. Hate it.
you. Is that
Bottom
a-
ranked. Gross.
Did we just alienate our whole New Zealand?
You can cut it out.
All right. On that note, go and have a biscuit, Beck. Dip it in. Enjoy your soggy piece of toast.
Yeah. It's Friday. I'm going to enjoy a nice niece biscuit. Yummy.
All right. I'll stick with the, I'll go and check out the ice bobos. All right, everyone. So lovely, as always, to chew your ear off with absolute nonsense. We will see you on the next episode of Nap Trapped. Bye.
Bye.